Oh, hello there. My name is Robert Garnham, and this is a short story called Tit. I love you more than any tit, was my first reaction. How could this possibly be? I thought I was irresistible, and that love, passion, moving as they do through the ether, mysterious and life-affirming, would be mine by rights. I'd never even thought they would be conditional on factors outside of my control. But when he'd said, "I'll only love you when the willow tit is secure in its natural habitat," I knew I was probably shafted. I also knew that he was worth it. If the willow tit were to go extinct, then so too would be any hope of a meaningful relationship with him, Ethan. There was even something bird-like about his name. His face was earnest. He leaned across the table in the trendy coffee shop with its bare brick walls and blackboard menu, and he said, "There's a passion lingering deep within, and I ache for the sweet embrace of love. But I cannot imagine a world without the willow tit. Did you know that it has been known to excavate nest holes in rotting deadwood on post-industrial landscapes? But they're endangered, and to be honest, that's something of a turn-off." My throat had become very dry. I swallowed. How endangered are they? There's just a few thousand left. And you think we could make a go of it? You and me, I mean, the two of us. Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm sure of it. But the willow tit will always come first. The serving robot brought us our coffee over to us, but it tasted bitter. And as I looked at Ethan, I felt within a certain degree of hopelessness. Why did life have to be like this? Just when I'd found someone so utterly gorgeous, who liked all of the things that I liked, and whose facial and psychic projections had almost matched exactly my own, a new factor had been introduced. Life was impossible. Or was it? The willow tit, you say? Ethan nodded solemnly. I'd always regarded myself as a prime catch, and my previous relationships had always been never been conditioned on the survival of a whole species. Except for the human species, of course, but that went without saying. Matt, James, Matt number 2 had all said at the start of our relationships that I was the perfect man and that nothing would ever happen that could possibly split us up. On each of these occasions, only one of these statements had turned out to be true. So naturally, when Ethan had added his bizarre condition to the success of our future romance, I knew that things would be different. For the next few days, I thought of nothing else but tits. It's true that my work suffered, and when my boss at the office where I design hologram dining tables asked what was bothering me, and I told her, a very funny look came over her face, and she sent me to the human resources department. Everyone should have their passions, I told myself, both passions of the head and passions of the heart. But it's not often that the two are interlinked. The human resources robot could not understand the logic of this, and someone had to be sent in to reboot it. On the way home from the office, I decided to take a wander to the wasteland to the north of the city, a desolate place where iron and brick structures loomed in the permafog, and the street-like drones hovered gingerly on the periphery. Perhaps I just wasn't thinking particularly straight, but that's what love can do to the senses. I was still dressed in my work clothes, smart casual trousers and a pristine white shirt, a jacket slung over my shoulders as I stepped over piles of brick and stunted vegetation. And then I stood there for a while, listening to the sound of absolute nothingness. No birds could I hear, no insects nor creatures of any kind save the ceaseless rhythm of a factory somewhere close, churning out supermarket trolley wheels. Clong, ching, clong, ching, clong, ching. Tits? Someone asked. I jumped. No, I blurted. It doesn't matter, she said. You're all the same, the lot of you. She began to walk away. Wait! She was an elderly lady, bent over a walking cane, her unkempt white hair a halo around an incredibly craggy face. You do mean the bird? I asked. What the bloody hell did you think I meant? She spat. Never heard such a load of old nonsense in all my life. Neon shimmered through the fog in the distance. I could feel my voice close to me, as if I were indoors, and this made me feel self-conscious. Take me to your tits, I whispered. I haven't got a clue what you're talking about, and she began to walk away again. Hang on, wait! It's money, isn't it? Well, why didn't you say so? I've got money. Have you got a card reader with you? I don't need your money, soldier. All I know is that you are here for the willow tits. How on earth did you know that? Because you're all here for the willow tits. What do you mean? She sighed. Follow me. She was pretty agile for an old lady. She hopped over brambles and bushes, and I had difficulty following her, unwilling to stain my work trousers, and yet driven on by how happy Ethan might be on hearing the lengths I was going through for him. And all the time she walked, I could hear her muttering to herself a random spew of unconscious words. Coming along here for the willow tit, yes, the willow tit. Mr. Fancy Trousers with his willow tit obsession. Oh, yes, like he thinks I can't see right through him, as if he were one of them holograms, Mr. Fancy Trousers with his willow tits. So, what do you do? I asked. I work for the RSPB, obviously, soldier, she replied. Or at least, that's what it bloody feels like these days. So there's lots of interest in bird life around these parts? She stuck out her tongue and blew a raspberry. What the hell does that mean? Just keep close to me, soldier. We continued walking, and neither of us said anything for a while. Eventually we came across what had once been a mighty factory, but now was only two free-standing walls. Two giant brick pieces of ruined architecture, like a massive book opened on a bed or two hands open in prayer. She stopped for a while and looked up at its structure. Well, I asked. Love, she replied. Pardon? You're doing this for love. How do you know? Well, it's not like you're going to buy me an ice cream, is it? Her face then softened. Who am I to stand in the way of love? If two people are meant to be together, then nothing can interfere with that kind of force, least of all me. I try to preserve this place. You? Who else? The Muffin Man? Are there any willow tits here? I asked. One big tit, as far as I can see. Her face softened again. I'm sorry. It's just, I've seen this all before. You know, we're all being overtaken by computers and robots. You know that, don't you? Everything has become tiny, microchips, electrical impulses. There's no real passion, and everything is counterfeit. But there are willow tits here. Robins, too. We're all trying to live together. I can't see any. Follow, she said. And she's off again. I follow. Only now I feel slightly differently towards her. I wonder how she survives out here in the harsh terrain. How does anyone survive? Aren't we all conditioned to environmental factors? She's muttering again as she walks. Coming along here for the willow tit, yes, the willow tit, Mr. Fancy Trousers with his willow tit obsession. Oh, yes, like he thinks I can't see right through him, as if he were one of them holograms, Mr. Fancy Trousers with his willow tits. She's still as sprightly as ever, though the fog seems to become even more dense. She hops over ditches and detritus, giant rusted pipes, and around abandoned cars and robots. Eventually we stop in the middle of nowhere, and she puts up her hand. Don't you think... Shh. I'm quiet. We're both quiet now, rooted to the spot. And then I see what she can see. Forms in the fog. Humanoid forms, standing still and staring into the miasma, which whirls and swirls, driven by unseen currents. And every now and then the fog clears for just a little to reveal that these are not robots, nor structures, nor statues. These are human beings, men, young men, such as myself, just standing there, with their hands beside them, staring around, heads slowly moving, mouths wide agape. What the hell is this? I ask. Like you, soldier. What does that mean? Look, she says. The fog clears momentarily. There must be 20 of them, 30 young men just standing there, looking around, mesmerised. They're all here, she says, for the willow tit. Every one of them. That's what happens, you see. Ethan sends them here. Promises love, eternal love, a chance of everlasting happiness. Willow tit, one of them says, and another adds, willow tit, and a third, willow tit. And then they're all at it, willow tit, willow tit, willow tit. This, she says, is Ethan's army. He's a hologram gone rogue. He was programmed to stand in a shopping precinct and sign people up for monthly direct debits, saving willow tits in their natural environments. And then he was reconditioned and sold to a dating website to be hired out for the evening. He had mind-controlling, mesmerising software installed to ensure that clients kept coming back. But something went wrong. There was a glitch. And the two parts of him combined, and this is what happened. He's out there every day, driving men wild and sending them out to this wasteland to look for willow tits. And do you know what, soldier? Do you want to know what the really good thing is? She looked at me as I shook my head. It's working. The willow tit population is increasing. They're working away. They're creating habitats. The species is back from the brink.